Hi yogis, welcome to today's wrist-free practice. This is a practice that focuses on our core and on our lower body without using our wrists or our hands. So that means we won't be going into any tabletop, any downward facing dog, plank, or anything like that. But we'll still build strength, build heat, and strengthen our body and mind connection. So we're going to get started in a comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for you. If you can cross your legs here, you can do that. If you like to have a blanket under the seat, or even if you have a block handy, you can sit up on your block. We will be using a block for this practice at one point. So if you do have one at home, just make sure that you have it on hand. If you don't have a block at home, you can also use a book or even a really sturdy water bottle just to help bring the floor a little bit closer. We're just going to be really gently using it to bring the floor a little bit closer to us in some of our standing postures. So just have one of those on hand. So coming to that comfortable seat, whatever that looks like for us, perhaps crossing the shins, sitting up on a blanket, and just let's take 2 really deep breaths in here, just beginning to connect our breath and connect to our breath and noticing how it feels as we inhale and exhale. And as we feel ready, we can begin to walk the fingertips forward. So we're coming into a seated forward fold, and not too much sort of weight on the hands, but really just lengthening the spine, finding that length in the spine, whatever that looks like, keeping the seat down. You can even round the shoulders. So just as you might, perhaps in child's pose, extend the arms out, doing the same here really gently. If this gives trouble to your wrist, if you feel it, you might even try lowering down onto your forearms if that feels okay for you. And if you can use that blanket or the blocks to build a little bit of height, bring that floor closer to you. And just finding some length in the spine, from the base of the spine all the way to the neck. With each inhale, imagining that breath coming down all the way to the base of the spine. And with each exhale, pushing out all the air from the base of the spine, all the way up the spine and out. Let's take one more breath here, really deep, intentional breath. And then we'll walk our hands back up all the way, straight up, spine is up long, sitting tall. And then uncrossing the legs and putting the feet out in front of us. And we'll start with some boat pose. So gently leaning back, keeping the chest open and bright, shoulders down. We can grab the backs of our knees as we lift our legs. Keeping the knees together. If we want, we can release the back of the legs and reach forward with the fingertips, just making sure to keep those shoulders down and that chest open. We're really engaging the core here. And we're going to hold for 3, 2, 1. Release, bringing the soles of the feet onto the mat. And then bring the soles of the feet as wide as the mat. And we're going to reach forward with our hands. Reach. Really good stretch here. And then slowly we'll begin to lower down 1 vertebrae at a time. So just moving as slowly as we can until we come all the way onto our backs. And once we're on our backs, We'll inhale, hug the knees in, bring the hands onto the shins, give yourself a good hug, maybe roll the ankles a little bit. And on our inhale, inhaling the right knee in, extending the left leg out, pressing through the heel of the left leg. Inhale, left knee comes in, right leg extends out. Keeping the shoulders down, keeping the shoulders relaxed. Inhale the right knee in, exhale the left leg out. Inhale, left knee in, right leg extends all the way down. Inhale the right knee in, now keeping both knees into the chest. One more hug here. And then planting the soles of the feet onto the mat. We'll bring the right ankle onto the left knee as we come into a supine figure 4. Keeping the right foot flexed protects the knee. We can stay here, or we can even hug the left knee into the chest for a little bit more sensation in the hip. Always listening to our body. You know, our body changes from day to day, so we have to listen to it every time we practice. Even if we could do something yesterday in our practice, we might not be able to get to that point in our practice today, and we have to acknowledge that and say it's okay and accept it. Exhale, releasing the left foot down, right foot comes onto the mat, left ankle crosses onto the right knee, coming into that figure 4. Stay here with the right foot planted or hugging in the right knee for a little bit more sensation. Making sure to keep that left foot flexed. That really helps protect the knee. Making sure that we're not overusing our knees or causing any additional strain. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Exhale, release the right foot down. Left foot comes down as well. Feet are hip distance apart. And just bringing the heels in towards the glutes. Arms are alongside the body, palms are down as we prep for bridge pose. And so on our next inhale, we'll lift our hips up, coming into our bridge pose. Keeping the back of the neck long. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. Knees stay in line with the hips. So imagine you're squeezing a block or a beach ball. And you can stay here, or you can even lift the right knee. Lifting the right knee, perhaps even straightening the right leg for a little bit more sensation, a little bit more heat building. Exhale, release the right foot down. Left knee rises. You can stay here, or inhale as the left leg straightens. Exhale, release the left leg down. And then slowly, one vertebrae at a time as we exhale, releasing the hips back onto the mat. And then hugging our knees in. Releasing some of that tension. And now we'll come back into boat. So there's 2 ways you can get back into boat. We can roll to one side and come to seated, or we can actually rock a little bit along the spine. Find some movement here. And when we're ready, coming all the way up, keeping our chest open, and coming right into boat. So either option is available to you. Holding here, strengthening the core. Again, keeping that chest open and bright. Exhale, releasing the feet as wide as the mat. And we'll keep the heels in a little bit and the toes coming out. And we're actually going to rise up into a yogi squat. So our elbows are pushing our knees out. And we're finding length from our spine all the way up into our neck. Our hands are at our heart, palms pressing together. If this isn't accessible to you today, you can come all the way up and you can just come into a squat like this up here. That's also an option. Again, breathing, inhaling the air all the way down the spine to the base of the spine. Exhale every last drop. And then releasing the hands from heart center and slowly lifting the hips up. We can even bring the feet in a little bit, hip distance apart, and we'll come into a forward fold. So hanging out here, keeping a generous bend in the knees, pressing the weight evenly through all four corners of the feet, inviting the belly towards the thighs. And fingertips are really just gracing the mat. So we're not planting them down. Perhaps they don't even reach the mat, and that's okay too. On our next inhale, bringing our hands to our shin, straightening the legs, straightening the back as we have a flat back here, and halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, ground down through the feet, arms rise up overhead as we come into our mountain pose. Exhale, hands come to heart center. Checking in with our position. Maybe we rock back and forth on our feet, making sure we find that point where we feel really, really stable and rooted in our mountain pose. Let's take one more breath. And then sweeping the arms up overhead. And we'll slowly bend over to the right, finding a side bend here. Inhale the arms up to center. Exhaling the arms to the left. Side bend on the other side. Inhale the arms up to center. Exhale, bringing the arms behind the back. And we can even hook the thumbs or interlace the fingers. And we'll just open up through the chest. And gaze can be forward, or we can begin to lift the chin as long as it feels okay on the back of the neck. Release the head down, release the arms. Bringing the hands to heart center. Beginning to transfer the weight into the right foot as we step back with the left, coming into a high lunge here. So knees over ankle. We can adjust our stance. See if we need a little bit of a wider stance or we need to come a little bit closer. Keeping the core tight. Hips are facing forward. Bringing the arms out to a T, we're going to twist to the right hand side. So slowly using our core, using our obliques, twisting to the right. Still maintaining that solid foundation. Inhale back to center. Then bringing our hands to our heart again. And you can stay here or you can begin to pulse a little bit. So dropping the left knee and then inhaling up. Exhale, lower. Even if it's just a little bit, any little bit feels really good. Let's do two more here. Really building heat. Coming back to our high lunge. And then we'll bring our hands onto our hips. And we'll begin to straighten the front leg and bring the back heel onto the mat. You might find that you want to shorten the stance here for your pyramid. And this is a good time to grab that block if you have the block handy. So I like to have a block on hand for this. And I'll bring it on the inside of my right foot, of my front foot. And so with our hands on our hips, we're going to begin to hinge at the hips any amount that feels good. We might come here with a flat back, or we might begin to invite the hands down onto the block. So finding some stretch and length in the front leg, finding that point where we really feel a good sensation and we're feeling successful in the pose. We might stay here, or we might plant our hands if it's on the block or on the floor, or even if we're here on the shin, and we might even open up, lifting the right arm up or bringing the hand to the hip as we twist open, coming into twisting pyramid. Just for a breath, coming back to center. We can put the block on the side for a moment, hands on our hips as we rise up. And then we'll pivot to the long edge of our mat. Toes are facing the long edge of our mat. The outside of our feet are aligned with the short edges of our mat. And we'll inhale as we open the chest. Exhale, forward fold. So we're here in a wide-legged forward fold now. And we'll just hang out here, keeping a micro bend in those knees. You can rock forward and back or side to side. Bring a little movement into this pose and just noticing how it feels. On our next inhale, we'll bring our hands onto our hips. We'll inhale as we rise up. And then bring the heels in and the toes out, and we'll begin to prep ourselves for goddess. So slowly sitting down, bending the knees. The knees are tracking out towards the pinky edges of the foot, and they're going to be right above the ankle, keeping the spine long, the chest lifted. We can stay here coming into a prayer squat, or we can even open the chest up coming into goddess pose. If you want some more heat, you can even pulse here a little bit. And you don't have to keep pulsing. You can pulse once or twice and say, well, that's enough for me. And that's fine too. And when we're ready, inhaling as we rise up, exhale the hands down. And then we'll step to the top of our mat again, coming into mountain pose. So we will inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale as we bend to the right. Inhale back to center. Exhale, bending to the left. Inhale back to center. Bringing our arms behind us, hooking the thumbs or interlacing the fingers, whichever feels good. And opening up through the chest. Maybe we lift the chin, maybe we don't. Stretching out through the diaphragm. Giving our lungs some more space. Gently bringing the chin down. Releasing the fingertips. Bringing our hands to our heart. And then we're going to step back with that right foot coming into high lunge on the other side. So finding that high lunge, noticing the placement of our knee, noticing if our core is engaged here, making sure that we're not putting too much strain on that low back by engaging the core. Arms come out to a T, and then using that core, using those obliques, beginning to spin as we twist open to the left. You can hold here. Inhale back to center. Bringing the hands to our heart. Stay here or add a little pulse. Slowly and gently bringing the right knee down. It doesn't have to touch the floor. It doesn't have to go very low. But building heat, building a little bit more strength. Let's do 2 more if you're pulsing. Otherwise, it's 2 more breaths holding here. Perfect. Bringing our hands to our hips, straightening the front leg. We'll prepare for our pyramid pose. You can bring that back leg in a little bit closer. If you like using the block, you can make sure your block is handy for this. So hips are pointing towards the front of the mat. We bring our hands to our hips. Feet are like on railroad tracks, so both sets of toes facing forward. We inhale and lengthen, and exhale as we hinge at the hips, coming over the front leg, any amount that feels good. Perhaps we reach for the shins or the thigh or even the block if it feels good. Finding that sensation, that place where we feel like we're being successful and getting the most today out of this pose. Again, we can stay here, or we can bring the hand onto the block or the shin for more stability as we twist open with the left hand. Or we can bring the left hand onto the hip and twist and open with the left shoulder. Exhale, release the twist. Bringing the hands back to our hips. Inhale, rise up. If you're using a block, you can move the block out of the way now. And then we'll pivot again to the long edge of our mat. Toes are pointing towards the long edge. Feet are aligned. We'll come into that forward fold again. So inhale as we open the chest. Exhale, forward fold. And this time we'll find a twist, so we'll plant the left hand, right arm rises as we twist and open. Exhale, right arm comes down. And we're really not putting a lot of pressure on our hands here. We're really just grazing the floor with our fingertips. So again, protecting our wrists. Inhale as the left arm rises. Exhale, left hand comes down. Bringing the hands to the hips. Inhale as we rise up. Let's bring the heels in and the toes out. And bringing our hands onto our thighs and sliding the hands down towards the knees as we lower. Bringing the hips down. Keeping open through the chest. And then gently twisting to the left, looking over the left shoulder. Breathe for a moment. Inhale back to center. And then exhale, twisting over to the other side. Inhale back to center. And then inhale as we rise all the way up, hands to hips, stepping back to the top of our mat. Let's bring our hands to heart center and just check in with our breath. See how we're feeling. Take a few cleansing breaths. And then we'll bring our feet again as wide as the mat. Heels in, toes out, and we'll lower down into our yogi squat again. So whatever that looks like, whether we're here, the most important thing is not getting low to the ground, but finding that length in the spine as we squat. So we might be here, or we might even invite ourselves here. Again, you can use a block under your seat as well to help with this. Hands are pressing together. And then exhale, bringing our seat onto the mat. We'll bring our feet in front of us. And we'll prepare ourselves again for another boat pose. So leaning back, keeping our chest open, shoulders down, and then lifting our legs up. So you're really on kind of the tailbone part of your back. reaching the fingertips forward, or maybe we're holding onto the backs of our thighs. That helps us to lift our chest a little bit more. Exhale, release. And just as we did in the beginning of our practice, we'll bring our feet out wide. We'll reach forward and slowly begin to roll down as we come onto our backs. Let's hug our knees in. And then bring the left foot down onto the mat, right ankle across the left knee. Perhaps we stay here. Again, hugging the left knee in if it feels good. Noticing if it feels any different than it did when we started our practice. Without judgment or expectation, it might not. And that's okay. And then slowly lowering and twisting, bringing the right foot and left knee to the left as we twist. So this sort of figure 4 twist. Arms are in a cactus or out in a T, and the gaze can be up or over the right shoulder, whatever feels good. Inhaling the head back to center, and then inhaling the legs back to center, unhooking the right ankle from the left knee, bringing the left ankle onto the right knee, inhaling the right knee in, again finding this supine figure 4, finding some opening in our hips. And then gently releasing the sole of the left foot onto the floor to the right as the right knee also comes down. Arms are in a T or as goalpost arms. Beginning to slow our breathing down. Inhaling the head back to center, bringing the knees back to center, releasing the left ankle from the right knee, hugging our legs in, bringing the soles of the feet onto the mat, and then gently allowing the knees to open out wide, bringing the soles of the feet together. And then we'll bring the right hand on the belly, left hand on the heart. Enjoying our stretch, keeping our shoulders relaxed, the muscles of our face relaxed. Savoring this slowness at the end of our practice. Inhaling the knees back to center. And we'll come into Shavasana. So if you liked that pose, that supine bound angle that we were just in with the soles of the feet together, you can actually stay there for Shavasana, or you can extend the legs out and extend the arms out, palms up, as you begin to settle in to our final posture of rest and relaxation. Allowing the breath to return to normal. Just letting the floor hold you. Noticing everywhere where you contact the floor. And relaxing from the crown of your head all the way down to your toes. Here in Shavasana. As you feel ready, gently beginning to deepen the breath. Perhaps invite some movement into your fingers and toes. Maybe bringing the hands onto the belly. And then rolling over onto one side. Keeping our eyes closed or our gaze soft. And then gently pressing ourselves up to a seated position. Crossing the shins. Bringing our hands to our heart. And taking a moment to express gratitude to ourselves and to our bodies and to our minds for getting on our mats, connecting with our energy through our practice, and really just for making the time to fill ourselves up. The light in me honors and respects the light in you. Namaste.